All right. So I'm going to be moderating the Tidbits, which are 2 to 3 minute updates or announcements. And our first one, do you want me to wait 2 seconds? Okay. First person is Aaron Larson talking about Chickaloon Cook Inlet Salmon Symposium.
Hi, everyone. Oh, perfect. Thank you. My name is Erin Larson, and again, I'm with the Aquatic Ecology Program at the Alaska Center for Conservation Science at the University of Alaska Anchorage. And I wanted to make people aware of and spread the word that we're going to be having a joint fish habitat with the Kenai and Mat-Su symposium this spring in Anchorage at the BP Energy Center, April 21st and 22nd. Would love to see you all there. This is sponsored by the Salmon Watershed Stewardship Project, which was a congressionally designated funding that Cooey Walker down at the Kachemak Bay National Estuarine Research Reserve received before she retired. And I've taken over that project. And the idea is to really bring the folks together around the topic of salmon watershed stewardship and to sort of figure out what we can leverage from getting the fish habitat partnerships together in one room to have something very similar to what we have here in the Mat-Su. So there will be more information coming soon to the reserve website down here. We are happy to have folks join our planning committee if that's of interest to you. And yeah, feel free to ask me any questions or find me at the break or get in touch via email after the symposium. Up if that's helpful. Was that, or do you have someone else next? Oh, Sue is next.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
Sue is next.
Okay, because I have this one too that I have to give.
Oh, okay.
That was part of, sorry.
You have 2 of them.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Yes, sorry to be greedy. I have 2 very different tidbits. I signed up for both of them yesterday as one. Okay. You only did half the tidbit on the last one. Okay, this will be very quick. I promise. Okay, I'm just giving a brief update about the Mat-Su and Admirous Waters Prioritization Project funded through the partnership. This is a project looking at where work should be prioritized for additions to the AWC. And I just wanted to give a brief update on where we're at with that project. So at this point, we ran into some challenges basically harmonizing NHD Plus with the AWC to kind of find a shared hydrography to be able to extract our fish presence and absence data set. But we managed to iron out those wrinkles. So we now have our environmental data sets compiled for modeling, including stream slope, mean catchment elevation, and valley confinement. And then we'll be using the fish presence and absence data set to help validate our model. That's currently, the modeling process is in process. And then during this winter into summer 2025, we'll be doing some final predictions on the stream network and doing fieldwork to actually test and calibrate that model. So hopefully next fall, I'll be sharing some updated modeling results with you all. And with that, I'm done.
Thank you, Erin. Next will be Sue Mauger.
So now that I've heard Mayor Machicki cracking on videos that don't have enough kids fishing, I'm a little sheepish because my video doesn't have any kids fishing. But this is, I'm going to show you, it's not showing. It is now. Oh, there we go. Okay, so Chickaloon Village Traditional Council sponsored an effort to collect some footage during one of our site visits with decision makers in the Mat-Su. And so this is, we have 2 products from that work. One is a short little clip that's just about the partnership. I'm going to show you the little bit longer one. And this was actually done by our summer intern who was like super good with all the video stuff, and she was able to actually pull together something from a lot of random video and voiceover stuff. So, doesn't look like we're online. No internet. All right, try again. And both these videos are on the National Fish Habitat's YouTube page.
Sometimes the screen gets like stuck on PowerPoint settings. There we go.
There were lots of communities and settlements along the dash path.
There was a village on the Croto Creek, and there was a permanent.
PowerPoint keeps like
Trying to take over.
taking over.
Okay.
Fix it. Keep
Fish trap up there.
It's impressive to think about this system being one of the biggest king salmon producers on the planet.
This seemed so easy.
I know it like, well, it was there a second ago. Duplicate. Keep changes. Might not put it in full screen.
Okay, that's right, yeah.
There were lots of communities and settlements along the dash path.
There was a village on the Croto Creek, and there was a permanent fish trap up there.
It's impressive to think about this system being one of the biggest king salmon producers on the planet. We've been working at the Dushka Weir with Fish and Game since 1995, so we have a lot of information on this system. We can see upwards of 6,000 fish a season harvested, so it's a major player in Chinook production here in the Mat-Su.
The Deshka also has issues with warm water.
The Deshka and Jim Creek are the two warmest systems that we have in the Mat-Su.
When the fish are in that kind of condition, they're very stressed, and a significant portion of them may not make it to spawning.
I've been partnering with Alaska Department of Fish and Game and their Water Resources Group to work on collecting some additional stream flow measurements here on the Deshka.
The big output that we're looking at are these future thermal maps of this watershed to understand, where's the cold water going to be, where's the hot water going to be, what habitats do we need to give some special attention to in terms of conservation.
There are some key places that are going to be really important climate resilience locations, that if we know where they are, we can make decisions to make sure that they don't get messed up by whatever potential threats might be out there.
So just another example of things that the partnership is doing when we're all doing field work.
Thank you, Sue.
Sure.
Next up is Nicole Aravallo. I hope I said that right.
Close enough.
Okay.
We don't need to bother with PowerPoint, so we're looking,
Yeah,
right?
you don't have one.
Nope. Nope, what I got is a couple flyers. They're up the front, though. So my name's Nicole Arevalo. I actually work at the Homer Soil and Water Conservation District, and I also work for the Alaska Association of Conservation Districts. And so some of you have worked with conservation districts in the past. You've either worked with us as field crews or with community outreach or things like that. But Alaska's got 12 designated soil and water conservation districts plus tribal conservation districts, which you heard from yesterday. The soil and water conservation districts are tied to the state of Alaska through the Department of Natural Resources and under statute. They were here before statehood, but embedded in statute is that DNR can create these soil and water districts. They are locally driven, locally run. We run independently, but we are tied to the state. The state isn't giving us any funding, but we make do by trying to find grants and get some stuff done on the ground. And we can be very nimble because of that. The Alaska Association of Conservation Districts is a registered 501c3 nonprofit that supports all the districts. And all the districts also have state agency status. It's like quasi-status, but it counts. So we can be nimble in securing funding, getting boots on the ground, doing community outreach, all these kinds of things we're all talking about here today, right? More field work, more stream bank restoration, things for local agriculture, invasive plants, native plant propagation is new on our scene. One of the soil and water districts that has fallen into non-activity, it is not functioning right now, is the Upper Susitna Soil and Water District. When statehood and federal funding that we were able to secure for a while collapsed, a lot of the districts really, well, all the districts struggled, but some were able to kind of like hold on, and some even to grow, like my district. Upper Susitna found it very difficult to navigate and have board members volunteering to write grants, report grants. You know all how that work can be very complex and hard to really put, to keep up with. So the Upper Sioux District is currently inactive, but Mark here, Mark Gutman, he lives close-ish to Talkeetna, North Willow, and he's doing an on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground charge to get people signed up. So in order to have a district stand up and be official in DNR's eyes, you have to have local landowners sign up for free and say, hey, we believe this district should exist. Then the DNR can put the stamp on it. We also need a board. So the boards are the ones who drive where you put your efforts, where you try to seek your projects, seek your funding, get that community outreach, whatever it is. And so right now, Mark has done the lion's share of this, but we've got just about enough cooperators to send the list off to DNR and get re-officiated. And so we've got brochures out here for people, but the border lines for the Upper Susitna District are from North Willow all the way up to Cantwell and super wide, covering a huge stretch of the Upper Susitna watershed. A lot of work, as you all know, because this is your field, can be done there with restoration, with invasive plants, with habitat protection, boots on the ground, and community outreach. So we're asking today, if you guys have smart friends, there's a lot of smarty pantses in this room who have a lot of smarty pants friends. Anybody within those boundary lines, and on the back of this brochure, you can see exactly where they are. It's pretty ginormous. If they live in there, they can become a cooperator. It's an old-timey term, but cooperator just means member. It means that you own or manage land. You don't have to live there, but if you control a piece of land up there, big or small, you can be a part so that we can send that off to DNR and say, hey, there's real people here. But what we really, really, really need are people to serve for like 2 years on that board to help get it back going, help get the bank account back and official, help guide resource decisions and where we're going to put our efforts. And, at first maybe help poor Mark here write some of those grants, because we're going to try to sign him up as an employee through the Alaska Association of Conservation Districts to get started on this work. But it will take having some board members to be there to support and just at least be official for at least a couple of years, and then we can move forward finding more. But that's my pitch. I'm sure I went over. We've got all these brochures over there and the sign-up forms, and I'm going to be around. If anybody wants to chat about it, find out more about districts, holler at me. I'm going to hover around and be available.
All right, thank you, Nicole. Next up is Duncan Green and Nate Cathcart talking about the Alaska Freshwater Fish Inventory.
All right, thanks everybody. My name is Duncan Green. You've already met Nate Cathcart. He gave a nice talk yesterday. We just wanted to really quick go over some of the things we've been working on. We are the Alaska Freshwater Fish Inventory, which is a program within the Alaska Department of Fish and Game's Sport Fish Research and Technical Services. As you can see, we've kind of been working all over the state. We are a statewide program, and even though there are only 2 of us technically in it, we've had help from lots of people in this room and the rest of the Department of Fish and Game, and as well as lots of partners in different agencies and tribal governments, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, in the last few years, we've been working all over the state, and we just wanted to kind of quickly, I won't list off all of our numbers and metrics, but as you can see, we've gotten a lot of freshwater fish inventory surveys done all across the state. Primarily, we're doing remote field camps, and backpack electrofishing is kind of our bread and butter, although we use all sorts of gear types to get to as many freshwater bodies as possible and do as many stream surveys as possible. And we're doing that because, we have a huge state, not very many roads across it, so there's a huge amount of area that has really not had any freshwater fish inventories done recently or ever or formally, and so we're just trying to fill in those gaps and figure out, what fish species live where in our state. And another important part of that is that we add a lot of nominations to the Anadromous Waters Catalog. And as Kevin mentioned yesterday, it's not just our program that can add to the AWC. It's kind of incumbent on everybody who has made fish observations of anadromous fish anywhere in the state to, get those in the catalog. We've worked in all these remote areas, but we also get out in the local region a little bit as well. Just last year, we did a quick one-day survey on the Knik River, and we found a Eulicon. So that was not previously in the AWC. There's probably people who work in the area a lot more, and they're like, oh yeah, well I know they're a hooligan in the Knik River, and well, if you should submit it to the AWC, and then the catalog will know as well. So, yep, just wanted to show what we've been doing and where, and I will turn it over to Nate for a quick plug.
Yeah, just getting the word out because we are hiring more of like an entry-level technician next year. So if you all know of early stage professional, there's going to be a Tech 2 position that we will get out in the field to do some really cool work with electrofishing. So there's some kids fishing on the left. But yeah, there's a diversity of opportunities to work with other groups within the department. It's going to be a fun summer. So if you know of any young folk out there that are going to have a summer off and want a summer job with 2 people like us, I lost my mullet though, so you can trust me. But thank you.
Thank you, Duncan and Nate. Next up is Michael Moscavallo talking about an upcoming funding opportunity.
Hello, everyone. Could I have the steering committee just stand up? If you're in the room, then come on. It's more than just Anna, right? So it's please stay standing. So it's that time of year again, and on behalf of the Matsu Habitat Steering Committee, I'm pleased to announce, or at least do a soft announcement of the upcoming RFP, request for proposal for the NIFHAP funds. The announcement or formalized RFP should be online in the next week or 2, but I just wanted to bring everybody's awareness to it. A few things to note is there's no changes to our top priorities from last year, so if you want to get an early start, just, you can refer to last year's RFP. The due date will be February 10th, and one-to-one match is required, except for tribes, and we encourage all applicants to think about data sharing in their application. So if you have questions or want to talk more, we have the steering committee standing up, and they'd be happy to answer any specific questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael. Next up is Anna Cynical talking about incremental change report.
I was a bad girl. I didn't get my flash drive in ahead of time. Here we go. So let's take this opportunity. Can everybody stand up? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll look good, right? Good morning, man. Good morning, Chris. Oh, man, lots of learning. Let's start like sitting. Okay, thank you. Good. Take all your shoulders out of the back. Take a seat. Okay, good job. I have a spreadsheet, but you don't. Okay, I promised to return with more. So for folks that weren't here yesterday, we did a, I think, fun little group exercise to really ground what are we doing together, what do we think we do, what have we done, and what are we going to do. And so I tried to take the submissions from the group and lump them thematically to bring something back that's a little more digestible, maybe. So here's what we're doing. Here's what we're building together. Here's what our purpose is, right? So there's a lot under this category that I just called ecology. So it's the things that we do, right? It's conservation, it's science, we're really good at it. You know, we're kind of preaching to the choir there. We know that we've got growth areas in other places. There's been a lot of conversation around that today. So there's lamprey love. I was doing this at 4 o'clock this morning. It was amusing. Yeah. So lots of emphasis on community, working with people. What's our vision? A courage to act, connection and understand us that allows us to act. So there's this notion of we're waiting for permission still to do stuff. And I would posit that maybe that time has come. We don't need to wait for permission anymore. I think we know enough. We can start talking to people. We can start telling people that 6 PPDQ, which I'm on a first letter basis now after today, is kind of a big deal, and we need to tell that story. So we've got some direct and some indirect effects. We're doing stuff already, and we can toot our tiny horns about those things. So we're building knowledge. We're engaging the public. I think we're particularly good at working with youth. There's lots of room for growth here. That hope mindset, that openness to trying things in different ways, that can be a struggle for us, but we're open to it, and that's really cool. We're developing this community of practice. We're centering around our Indigenous stewardship leaders, and we are delivering tangible products. You can hold this in your hand, you can count it, you can check that box. These are habitats we've improved. We've added to databases. We've restored miles of stream habitat. We've done prevention and control of invasive species. We've grown baby fishes. We are kingmakers, baby. We're taking out culverts. We're doing these things. We're doing so many things. We just got to get better at telling our stories, right? And then, so what are our next steps? Working together. We're pretty good at that. We need to work together. We need to work together with new people, though, right? New communities. We need to get the word out. How do we disseminate the data and tell the stories? We're good at creating data, right? So here's a little emotional intelligence. When I'm sorry, I am going to butcher your last name. I apologize. Peter. When Peter asked for a self-assessment, know thyself, do you know that it's hard for communities, for non-scientific communities to understand you? We said, yeah, we know that. And that showed up here too. So we have that self-assessment. Maybe we next steps are to engage in advocacy and lobbying where we can, or support those who can. And so maybe these tidbits, this is data for us. Maybe this informs future priorities for the steering committee, for the partnership. Maybe there are types of trainings in terms of media, communication, outreach, advocacy that we can work to really resource this group. But this is you. This is all data from you, and I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to share it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Anna. Next up is Zoe Kramer, talking about West Sioux Access Road.
Margaret already did a really good job of explaining the access road, and what I was wanting to build off of it is that, first off, my name is Zoe. I am the Climate and Salmon Community Organizer at the Alaska Center, and one of the big things that we're focusing on in the next couple months is about the new coal exploration. So I wanted to just convince you guys that this was bad, which I think you already know. And so the Alaska Center really needs your help. I'm new. I got this job 2 months ago. I used to work with Cook Inlet Keeper, and I haven't really been around the Mat-Su Valley too much. And y'all know so much that I don't. And so I would love to collaborate and get to know y'all a little bit more and understand, because we're researching and polling right now to understand the current opinions of coal in the Mat-Su, and trying to create a strategic community outreach and comms plan to cross the aisle to get us all on the same page that we're investing in our salmon, we're investing in our communities, and kind of flip the script a little bit. As we've been talking about, it's been kind of difficult to get on the same page and to find that sense of community where we're all here together. So please email me or text or call my work cell. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Thank you, Zoe. Next up is Andy Couch talking about salmon escapements, Mat-Su.
So we heard about it in the symposium a little bit earlier, that our king salmon and our coho salmon populations in the Mat-Su Valley are at critical levels. For the last 2 years, the Department of Fish and Game has not documented a single king salmon stock in the Susitna drainage making a goal. This past year, Deshka and Little Susitna River, the weir projects there went pretty much solid through the entire king seasons. And for covering that portion of the seasons, we had some of the lowest counts, I think maybe the lowest counts we've ever had on those projects. Significantly below the escapement goals. Like on the Deshka, not even half the goal, closer to a third of the bottom of the goal. The goal is set as a range from 9,200 to 18,000. And the goal had previously been cut. It used to be 13,000 to 28,000 on the Deshka. So that kind of gives you an update on the king salmon, and probably that's no surprise. But coho salmon, we got some funding. The Mat-Su Borough Fish and Wildlife Commission got some funding to operate more weirs during the sockeye and coho salmon season. One of those weir projects, the Shalatna Lake weir, hadn't been operated for 4 years. And it was not operated again this year, but it should be with us next year. So we should have at least some kind of figure to kind of help us in knowing what's happening at Shalatna Lake. Like we said, we haven't had that for 4 years as primary sockeye. Judd Lake, the department found they didn't have funding for that late in the year, so that one was not funded. And I believe it's been 3 or 4 years that one has not been funded as well. But so hopefully that should be up again next year. The one sockeye in the Susitna that was monitored was Larson Creek on the Talkeetna. And we actually achieved the bottom end of the sockeye goal there on August 19th, long after the commercial season had been closed in the Northern District. We finally bumped over 15,000 fish. But that isn't necessarily a good statement either, because it was so late in the season, it almost seemed like an accident that we got it that late, because sockeye, most of the run usually comes a bit earlier in the season, and it was just fortunate that we got the minimum goal there. Coho, the Deshka weir washed out, the Little Susitna weir washed out, but before they did, the Department of Fish and Game made some projections based on what we were seeing earlier in the season, And those projections were extremely low. I'll see if I got those. Whoop. So projection for the Deshka was, let's see here, 1,375 fish. And that projection was made on August 12th. And the goal on the Deshka is 10,200 to 24,100. And again, that's, it's a projection, it's not a total count, but that would be one of the lowest counts, maybe the lowest count we've ever had on the Deshka for coho salmon. Similar situation on the Little Susitna. On August 12th, it was projected that the final count would be 2,154 fish. Again, because the weir was out, we didn't get that final count. But the goal on Little Susitna is 9,200 to 17,000 fish. We had a weir in at Fish Creek that did attain the sockeye goal there for Fish Creek in the Big Lake drainage, and it had 37,943 fish. But I think in the commercial write-up that the department recently put out, they said that, I think they said Big Lake drainage was 46% below their projection for the season. So that wasn't particularly good. Jim Creek had a pretty good count of coho, or sockeye, excuse me. Last year they had a extremely low count of sockeye, but this year they did have a good count there. And the weir count for coho was one of the lowest they have. They don't have a big data set on Jim Creek, but when they counted the place where they have a goal on McRoberts Creek, they figured it actually attained the escapement goal for coho in Jim Creek, which is the one place that we know we attained a coho escapement goal in Upper Cook Inlet. Fish Creek, the coho count was 235 fish, and both Jim Creek and Fish Creek are very stable, and they were in place for the entire season. So, and I guess what I would say is we have funding to operate those weirs, and hopefully we'll get some better data for them or from them in the future. But the Fish and Wildlife Commission felt it was really important that we do maintain those records and do know what our status of those spawning escapements is, because they are critical for keeping the salmon going. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. And next up is Kendra Zamzo talking about scientists engaging in policy.
Hello, John. My name is Kendra Zamzo. I work for Chickaloon Native Village. A lot of you are already scientists that are engaging in policy, but I'm sure that, my slide gone. Okay, there we are. But if it's something that kind of piques your interest, or if you want to get some of your friends interested, I wanted to point this out as a resource, engineers and scientists acting locally. They're nationwide. As far as I know, I'm the only one in Alaska. I was on their steering committee basically before they formed. I was part of the formation of this group. All of us as scientists can participate in things like boards and commissions. I do work for Chickaloon Native Village, and in my personal capacity, somehow I got drafted onto the Fish and Wildlife Commission, and then they had me represent them on the Water Body Setback Advisory Board, so now I'm on a board and a commission. The Matsu Borough has lots of board openings. The Fish and Wildlife Commission will have 2 coming up. So that's an opportunity there. Obviously, we just heard about this opportunity with the Upper Sioux Conservation District. So I would just encourage people, even if you're just looking at your community council, just get involved in some way, because if we're going to look at science to conservation outcomes, that means we have to get involved, and we can start at home. So, thanks.
Thank you, Kendra. And next up is Morgan Kia, talking about Defend the West Sioux event.
I think you've heard about it the magic number of times, about the West Sioux Industrial Access Road, and you are feeling particularly advocacy curious. And I'm going to invite you to follow that curiosity to join me on this Thursday, November 21st in Anchorage at the CoWork space to learn more about that project and start to realize and really play with those ideas that are spinning around in your head of how you can apply your expertise and knowledge to this particularly relevant local issue that could affect the entire state of Alaska. I'm Morgan Urquia, and I work with Defend the West Sioux, which is a coalition of groups and community members who have come together to work against this project, the West Sioux Industrial Access Road. I won't take up much time now because you should come to our event, enjoy food and drink, and really start to see what it could look like for you all to take these next steps that have been so wonderfully articulated here. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Morgan. So we're running a little bit behind. Nobody panic, but if you need to use the restroom or anything, that's fine. But we're going to skip the networking break this time, and I'm just going to invite Becky Shaftel up here to moderate the next session.